welcome to today's video. As you can tell, I'm a little bit over the top today, and that is because I am entering the NYX Face Awards. I want to do something fun and spring inspired, so this is actually a character called a garden child. So my idea for this character is that they spend all their time growing up in a garden, being influenced by the dirt and the grass and the sunshine and the water, and this is what this person has become. So if you want to see how I created this beautiful garden person look, just keep watching. To start, I'm going to prep my skin with a luminizing primer. This character is a product of the garden, so she would be getting lots of sunshine and have glowing, beautiful skin. Even though I am pasty white, that's okay. We can still have a sun-kissed glow to our face. I'm going to jump into eyebrows next, and that gives the primer a chance to really sink into my skin before I go in with foundation. So I'm actually going to be using a liquid lipstick that matches the color of my hair. We fair garden people have to fit in with the flowers. Therefore, we don't grow brown hair. We grow purple, or pink, or blue, or green. Next, I'm going to take some concealer and clean up my brows. Then I'm going to take a sponge and just tap that out so that it blends. I'm going to be working on the eyes before I do my foundation because I'm going to be using a lot of colors and I don't want fallout falling on my face after it's been foundationed. I'm going to prep my eyelids with concealer as well. And same thing, taking the concealer brush, spreading that over my lids and also cleaning up the underside of my brow. Tap, 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 tap. Next, I'm going to set that concealer with a light powder close to the color of my skin so that I can blend shadows over this more easily. For the eye look, I'm going to be creating a cut crease with varieties of purples and pinks. So I'm going to start with a lighter pink on a fluffy brush, and I'm going to start working that into my upper crease and the outer corner, and this is going to be my transition color that I'm going to blend my other pinks over top of. Bring that all the way to the inner corner. Because we're doing a cut crease, we want to have contrasting on the lid, the front part of the lid, and the inner crease. So I want to make sure I'm bringing all my colors into my inner corner. And it doesn't matter if we get this on the lid because we'll be cutting it out with concealer later. Moving on to a slightly darker pink, same brush, and just going over what we have already done, but kind of keeping it a little bit lower in the crease and building up that outer corner, but of course bringing it into that inner corner as well. And this may not look a whole lot darker yet, but I'm going to slowly build it up. Having the fluffier brush is going to diffuse the color a little bit more. So I'll move on to a more dense brush in a second to build up the pigment even more. So moving to a smaller brush, still fluffy, but significantly smaller and a little bit denser. This is going to allow us to use that same pink, but build the intensity just a bit more. I'm going to focus this more on the outer corner because this is going to be our transition into the purple that we're going to do on our lid. And that isn't quite dark enough for me, so I'm actually going to tap into a red color, and layering that on top of the pink will create a nice raspberry color. There we go. Going back to the fluffier brush, I'm just going to go over that and really just blend all the edges out, really diffuse that color. This is one of the reasons why I didn't do my foundation yet. It'll be a little bit messier in that outer corner, and then just clean it up. At this point, I'm going to start cutting out my crease with concealer. I'm just going to take it right off of the concealer wand onto this little brush so that I have more control over where I'm placing this on the lid. I'm going to start by dabbing that onto my lid and then slowly bringing it to the inner corner and starting to cut that crease. Once I start getting just past halfway, I'm just going to slowly tap out the edge. And then I'm going to use my finger and tap it out just a little bit more. That'll start to soften the edges. Then I'm going to take my brush and dip into the pink that I was using. I'm just going to tap that along the edges because that will help to blend. Now using a flat brush, I'm going to take the purple that I'm wanting on my lid, coating the brush pretty heavily, and then I'm just going to start tapping that right onto the concealer. The concealer works great as a nice sticky base for this. And then just take your time to get it nice and close to the edge of your concealer. Then if you need to, you can use a small detailer brush like this guy and go a little bit closer to the edge. Really get that defined cut crease. And then without putting any more product on my flat brush, I'm just going to tap out the edges gently to blend it with the pink, alternating with the pink brush with nothing else on it and just kind of dabbing that back and forth until you feel like it's blended. This is the point where I go back and do my face, and I'll come back to the eyes later. For foundation, I'm going to use the NYX Total Control Drop Foundation. And I just like to buff this in with a brush. It's too liquidy to use with a sponge because the sponge will just suck it right up. I'm also going to bring that down onto my chest because I do want to do some contouring on my chest later on, and I want to have a base for that. So taking it all the way down my neck, spreading it out over my chest. Before I set that with powder or go in with my concealer, I'm actually going to use a liquid highlighter, and then just gently dipping into that. I'm going to highlight my collarbones a little bit, and then I'm going to also highlight my cheekbones a bit, and that'll just give a good base for when I go in with highlight later on. A little bit on the forehead, nose and chin. I'm actually going to go in with concealer right on top of some of those areas, but that's okay because the glow will still shine through. So I'm going to highlight underneath my eyes, down my nose, and my chin. Again with my sponge, and it does have some of that highlight on it, but that's okay because it'll mix in with the concealer and give an even more highlighted glow. I'm going to do a light dusting of powder, especially underneath my eyes so they don't crease. But we're going to go back and powder a little bit more after I'm done my freckles. I'm also going to take a big fluffy brush and powder my neck and chest. For my freckles, I use a liquid bronzer, which I'm going to put on my plate. And then what I like to do is take a stiff little brush like this. Got really stiff bristles. I actually dip it into the bronzer first and then kind of tap it off on the plate beside just so there's not tons of product on here. And then I'm going to start splattering my face with freckles. I simply take my nail and brush it along the top. And it creates these cute little freckles. In between each go, I'm going to just pat those out a little bit, help them sink into the skin. Also trying to avoid getting it on my eyes. So if I want to get closer to the eye, I'll just cover it up a little bit. And remember, us garden people are in the sun a lot, so it would be very natural to have a ton of freckles from all that sunshine. I mean, as natural as you can get with made-up character. Now that we are significantly freckled, it's time to go in with powder again because that's going to set those freckles into place and allow us to work with powders over them. Now I'm going to go in with a bronzer. I'm going to use this big fluffy fan brush so I can lightly contour my cheeks. And I'm trying not to do too much brushing motion because I don't want to disturb those freckles. Even though they are set with powder, if you brush them too harshly, they will start to disappear. I'm going to take this brush here and do a little bit of bronzing underneath my collarbones, down the center of my chest, in those little hollows above my collarbones. I'm also going to do a light nose contour. Again, we don't want to be doing too much sweeping motions, so I'm just going to kind of pat that down the sides of my nose. And again, because we live in a garden, we're going to be very sun-kissed and rosy. So of course I have to go in with some blush. I'm going to use some peachy tones with a little bit of shimmer and start kissing those cheekbones. I'm going to bring that up onto my temples a little bit too. A little bit across the nose, a little across the chin, and maybe even a little bit on the forehead. And bring some of that color down onto the chest as well. Now we're going to move on to highlight, and I'm going to be using a purple highlight for this. We are radiant and colorful, so there has to be a colored highlight. Look at that gorgeous purple tint to that. Adding just another dimension of color. Taking a smaller brush, I'm going to run that down my nose. Well, we'll start with the tip of my nose, and then a little bit down the center of my nose as well. I'm going to take that under the brow bone and the cupid's bow. I'm going to get a little bit of this on my forehead as well. And of course, we will take that onto the collarbones as well. I'm going to go back to the eyes now because we need to finish those bad boys up. Under the eyes, I'm going to start with the very first pink that we used, the lightest pink as our transition color. And I'm just going to sweep that underneath the eye. And I'm going to use quite a bit of it because I'm going to be doing purple over top of this, and I want this to kind of be a transition for the bottom. So I'm going to bring it down a lot lower than I normally would with eyeshadow. And I'm going to be going into a darker purple and putting that on the outer corner I'm kind of sweeping it about halfway. Next, I'm going to line my eyes with a deep plum color. I'm using a plum color for my eyes because I don't want to bring too much dark black onto my face, and my lashes are already going to be black, so I want to keep a color in the waterline, but I also wanted to make it dark so that the eyes pop a bit more. Going back in with the purple highlight, I'm going to highlight the inner corners of my eyes as well. So I'm going to do a coat of mascara, and then I'm going to pop on some lashes, and that usually takes me a while, so I'll be right back. Now that my lashes are on, it's time to start sticking flowers to my face. So I have a couple bundles of pink and purple flowers, and then these pretty little yellow filler, I guess. So I'm going to start by popping the little heads of the flowers off, and I'm actually going to deconstruct them a little bit by removing the little green stem bit, and then I'm actually going to pull these leaves right off of there, because with that big stem on there, it's hard to stick it to your face. I'm essentially just taking the fabric part of the flower right off of its little frame, so it comes in two little pieces. I'm going to glue those back together and then stick that to my face. This is going to take a while, so we'll skip through this and then get to applying them. And then for this little dude, I'm just going to cut off these little pieces, and that's going to attach really nice to my face. I'm going to go in with a bright pink lipstick to pull this look all together. Now all that's left to do is to start sticking flowers on my face. I am just using eyelash glue. I'm just going to start applying glue to these and letting them sit and dry for a little bit before I start sticking them on my face. I am covered in glue at this point. I'm gonna set my face with some spray. Hopefully it doesn't wreck the flowers. I have all these larger flowers that I'm going to stick into my hair. I'm just going to use some bobby pins and attach it to this green part and then stick them in my hair. And there we go. That is the finished look. I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial. And if I make it to the top 30 for the NYX Face Awards, please help me by voting to keep me around. And if not, this was a wonderful experience anyways. I don't usually do stuff this crazy, so this was a lot of fun. Thanks for watching. If you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!